into his territory there. Looks like another male wildebeest there that he's taken off to go chase. That's probably what the snorting was about. Seeing off any possible competition. Well, they could just be going for a nice afternoon jog. Yeah, some white-tailed, or sorry, not white-tailed, long-tailed shrikes making lots of noise as well, taking over the mantle from the starlings. Something incredibly calming about spending time with big ellie bulls. Marmaduke is wondering if we've ever seen any albino animals out on the reserve. No, I have not actually. Albinism is actually very, very rare in the wild. And there, you do see something called leucism. I've seen a few leucistic birds. Leucism rather than... Well, albinism is a complete lack of pigment in skin and hair and feathers. Whereas leucism is a lack of melanin, so a lack of the darkening pigment that most animals, including us, share. Look at those beautiful tusks. But it's more common in birds. You can get leucistic buffalo and leucistic giraffe, but it is very, very rare, and especially out here. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen any leucistic birds or animals since I've been at Safari Live, but I have seen leucistic bronze-winged coursers in the Sabi Sands before. That is about to have a drink, and that big boy is going to lift its head now. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? So we're going to sit here with these big boys a little bit longer. I think they are going to move off shortly. But while we do that, let's go have a look at Jamie, who's got another animal that spends time in bachelor groups.
Well, Brent sits with the big boys. We've found some big boys of our own. Not quite to the same degree, but nevertheless equally entertaining. A group of 4 buffalo bulls, or dugger boys, and 1 elephant, and 1 hippo. And so Buffelshoek Dam continues to live up to its sterling reputation, since it is one of the few watering holes left for the animals to come to. Oh, we've got a showdown here. 1 very thirsty ellie and 1 highly unimpressed hippo. Oh, the hippo is most definitely not silly enough to pick a battle with an elephant of that size, but he's starting to feel more and more pressurized as the dam starts to go down. It's no longer a safe zone, and he's feeling pressurized and restricted, although that hasn't stopped him from playing host to a terrapin that is currently hitching a ride and making full use of the fact that the hippo can't fully submerge at this depth. The elephant and the hippo are eyeing each other up. The elephant is aware of the hippo's discomfort. The buffalo watch on with their usual expression of, what would we call it? It's almost a disconnected look. It's a very distant expression that they have to their faces. There's actually quite a good reason for that. Science has shown that the brain waves of an animal that is ruminating very closely resemble sleep brain waves, so almost like rapid eye movement sleep. It's one of the reasons why the antelope and the bovids don't need as much sleep as we do. There we go. Ellie and Hippo have reached a truce of a kind. Jenny, you were wondering as we watch our elephant slurp up the water. It's a wonderful word, slurp. It's fully descriptive of the way in which an elephant drinks as he drags up trunkfuls of water and then transfers them to his mouth. You wanted to know exactly how much. Oh, Hippo's so unimpressed with life. You see that stream of water and air. Sorry, but you're wondering per trunkful how much is an elephant bringing in? Between about 9 to 12 litres, depending on the size of the elephant. So this isn't a very large elephant, it's quite a young bull. He's probably taking in, if I had to guess, about 8. And please do forgive me, my litre conversions are not what they should be, so I'm going to have to leave it up to you to convert that measurement to gallons, or whatever your preferred unit of measurement happens to be. I'm okay with pounds and I'm okay with feet, but litres, gallons, ounces and I, not ounces, but litres and gallons and I, have never really got on all that well. Interesting. Elephant telling us a lot here with his body language. He's actually feeling slightly intimidated by the hippo. And he's now been scared away by an impala as well. Oh, he's going to be so embarrassed. That was an impala, you silly Ellie. No. If we have a look at him. Yep, he wants to take it on. He wants to prove that he's big and scary. See that tail swishing and then a very, very clear sign with that head up posture. Elephants, yep, here we go. Here we go. Yes, you go intimidate that impala. And the impala can't really take the elephant seriously. He knows he's much faster and quicker, and he's also very thirsty. Yes, you go show that impala how big and scary you are because you couldn't intimidate the hippo. The Egyptian geese have taken off. The impala really can't understand what this ridiculous show is all about, and I promise you, oh, for goodness sake. And round the other side. If you're going to pick a fight, Mr. Elephant, you might want to pick a fight with an animal that you would actually be capable of catching. Yes, pretend that you came all that way to drink and that it had nothing to do with the impala. Sure, we all believe you. It was just that particular patch of water that you really wanted, of course. I can't guarantee this, but I feel almost instinctively that that was a response to the fact that he had to back down to the hippo, or that he felt intimidated by the hippo, and he wanted to save face. And the reason I say that is because I've seen elephants do that so many times. Very often it's when they've lost in a battle to another elephant and then they decide to come and take it out on you, sitting in your vehicle, because they think that you're the next best thing and they want to try and intimidate you, regain some ego. And unfortunately, it never quite works out the way they planned. Oh, well, boy, well done. You... You've scared that one impala away from your water. Job well done. And as he grabs some more to drink at a slightly less intimidating distance from the hippo, Pinky Swear, you were wondering, is it true that baby elephants will suck on their trunks like human babies suck on their thumbs? Yes, absolutely they do. It's one of the most magical things to witness. You can see it purely as a comfort thing. And baby elephants, when they're first born, those trunks sort of flap around in the most uncoordinated of fashions. And it takes them a while to get complete control, but they do suck on their trunks. And they also grab their mother's tails as a comfort, as a sort of a tactile reaching out for comfort and connection. You can't help but love elephants. They're just the most extraordinary creatures. And they, of all of the animals, oh yes, arabesque. And back to scratching your ankle. But yes, you can't, I mean, maybe I do it too often, but I can't help but interpret a lot of their actions through very anthropomorphic eyes. There's a lot of science to back up, though, the fact that they've got emotional intelligence second to no other animal out here except for us, out in the African bush. And probably only outmatched by dolphins, whales, and the great apes in terms of their social and emotional development. The hippo showing signs of what's known as displacement behavior. He was rolling around. The next step will be yawning, depending on how threatened. There he goes again. That is not because he's trying to cover his back. That is a visual cue. That is him trying to show off that he's big and scary, and it's called displacement behavior. It's not quite antagonistic or aggressive behavior, but it's just a couple of steps removed. The next step is for him to start yawning. He's already blown air a couple of times through his nostrils. He might even grunt or make that typical hippo sound. And as I said, it's just because he is under pressure. There he goes again. It might look like he's just trying to cover himself with water. It isn't that. Now, I can almost guarantee, having seen Sam's sighting at this dam with this hippo and the elephants, and now from having heard about his behavior this morning whilst Brent was here with the lions, I can almost guarantee that if we drove down that close to the dam on that side of the wall to view the elephant closer, I can almost guarantee he'd come dashing out of the water at us. It's very, very important visual communication that he's just shown everything around the waterhole, and he's trying to just make sure that his space is not intruded upon. Now we've got this young Ellie bull drinking away. He's actually got quite an impressive set of tusks for an elephant of that size. He might even have relatively large tusks when he grows older. But Petra, who is watching in India, we were wondering if within our African elephants, the females have tusks. And yes, they do. Both females and male African elephants have tusks, or savanna elephants have tusks, and forest elephants. There is about a 4% of an elephant population that has and is born without tusks. So 4% of the population is the rough average around Africa. That, of course, unfortunately has been pushed to a much higher percentage in areas due to poaching. But there's a very small group of elephants that are born without tusks, and we do occasionally see them. Oh, just heard, I'm not sure if you could hear that, possibly not, but that was a poof from the hippo. Shame. Life is going to get very tough for him in the next few months. Petra, sorry, I will get back to your elephant question in a moment because there's quite a few differences that we can go over. But I just want to see his behavior. I want to see if he does that again. And you have to feel for a hippo facing the situation that they are. Most of them have been moved out of this particular area, the Northern Sabi Sands. They have been caught and removed and taken to other reserves with far better water supplies. But these dams are going to dry up over probably the next 2 or so months, and they are going to have probably nowhere to go except to move back towards the pans, the pumped areas outside the lodges again. Now, and Doodles, sorry, just to go finish that train of thought, yes, all of the dams, the big dams, like Buffelshoek, Treehouse, Sydney's probably as well, and depending on whether they decide to pump it or not, Arathusa Dam will dry up. So, yes, they will dry. The pans or the dams outside the lodges, for example, there is Djuma Pan, where the camera is situated, and there is Galago Pan. The lodges will continue to pump those as often as they can, depending again on the water table, because that water has to come from somewhere. But most of you know by now we are in for a really serious dry season. The next big rains are only predicted in probably around December of next year, possibly even January, February, and oh my goodness, I'm sorry. There's some very, very bright sun shining in my eyes. Chandra is trying to shade me from it. Thanks, Chandra. Try and keep my head still. Thank you. Wow, now I'm seeing purple spots. But yes, we are in for a very serious drought. The dams are going to be completely dry. But worst of all, because there will be water available for the animals, the food is going to become in very short supply. Let's see what happens here quickly while this elephant walks past the hippo, because he's still not entirely impressed with the situation and the fact that he got out. He's going to pretend, I think. Oh, there's the air puff coming again, the hippo. He's going to just pretend that he's leaving just because he wanted to. And the hippo standing upright a little bit, but realizing that the elephant is on his way. And he will, oh, you see, there you go, looking backwards again. And off he goes. He thought about challenging that hippo. And I think he probably would have if there had been another elephant in the area, another bull elephant. He's still almost thinking about it. You see how stiff his tail is? Okay, there we go. Relaxed a little bit. Could almost read his thoughts there. Am I going to be intimidated? Should I show this guy who's boss? Do I really want to pick a fight with him? Maybe not. And the buffalo are kind of deciding the same thing now as to whether or not they want to come squeeze past me, or if they're quite happy where they are around the dam. It is starting to get late, it's starting to get a bit cool, and they know instinctively that sitting close to a dam limits their escape routes as the lions start to get mobile. Well, one of the buffalo took offense to the presence of the other. And look at that bird. Sorry, it's down there, Gendre. It's the other left to the right. Here we go. Having a jolly good dust bath. Awesome. And just shuffling the grains of the dirt and the sand through their feathers, which helps to remove parasites. It's basically like an oxpecker exfoliator. Oh, back to a buffalo, in which it will find some ticks. Oh, you're causing trouble, Mr. Buffalo. What you doing? Stirring, looking for an argument, looking for a bit of a fight. We've got one off to the left of us that is having such a jolly good face rub on this log. Here we go, there's a nice spot. Oh, shame boy. That skin does look a little bit itchy. Most buffalo have some bald patches around their faces. This guy looks as though his skin's not in the best condition. And it's probably this constant rubbing and scratching that has left it as bald as it is. Well, yes, that's the spot. That's the itchy spot. Oh, and there by the horns. Is that better yet? Not quite. Still there, still itchy. It must be horrible having things like ticks living on you and not having thumbs to get them off. It's not like they can say to the oxpeckers, hey guys, just go to that one tick that's on the left side of my right ear and just pluck it away from me. They just have to take whatever relief the oxpeckers can offer. Okay. All better now, is it, boy? Yep. As I said, these buffalo boys won't stick around close to the dam as it starts to get dark. It's a dangerous place to be. First of all, the lions are going to start thinking about having a drink, which was why I was here, by the way. I got completely distracted by the parade of animals around Buffelshoek Dam, but I was actually coming to look for the mating pair of lions, which we'll have to do quickly before we start heading off to War's fireside chat to get things all set up. Petra, I never finished chatting a bit about the differences between African and Asian elephants, although I think you will be fairly familiar with the most basic ones. Of course, our elephants in South Africa and in Africa, the tip of their trunks have two, what do you call them? Oh, for goodness sake. Two lips, whereas the Asian elephant only has one. And then the main difference, of course, being the size of the ears, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. The African elephant with it. Thank you, Jeandre. Perfect. African elephant with its large ears and the Indian elephant with its tiny ears. So I just wanted to finish that off before we leave Buffelshoek Dam, because I'm going to head off and search for those lions. While I do, let's find out how Brent's perusal of Cheetah Plains is going.
Alas, poor Gnorman, alone, scent marking, lost his lady friends. As you can see, he looks forlornly to the south, where on the other side of this clearing, Gnorman's other arch emesis resides, and he has got the ladies. So these wildebeest bulls on patches of prime territory like this will not have a huge territory. It'll just be a few small hectares. So Gnorman's got the centre part. There's another bull who's got the southern, and then that bull we saw running around with the ladies who's got the northern part of these open clearings. So when territory is correct for them, they don't need a vast area to defend. And this is prime country, so all three of these bulls are in the best condition of their life to be able to defend this area. Now, Vim and I spotted some cheetah tracks, and the general direction was towards this area. Unfortunately, they look like they might be from last night. Oh, see Norman scratching and marking all his sticks in his domain. Just checking under every bush at the moment while you guys are looking at Gnorman. Hoping for a head to pop. Well, baby gnu's wondering, are there different types of wildebeest? There most certainly are. We have two species in southern Africa. The blue wildebeest, which we're looking at now, and the black wildebeest, which occurs on the high veld, on the grassland plains of the high veld. And there are different versions of the brindled gnu or blue wildebeest, which we see. There's a white-bearded, white-tailed version, and that's the one that partakes in the massive migration in Kenya and Tanzania. Now, my favorite of all the different blue wildebeest variations is the Nyasa wildebeest. I don't have a picture of him with me, but do yourself a favor, Google it. Nyasa, spelled Niasa. Smaller than these guys. They live in the Miombo woodlands and around the rivers. They have little sort of you get the Luangwa Valley in Zambia, but that's about it. We're going to count here, but no such luck just yet. Now we are going to check back towards where we had last tracks. There's another road that we haven't checked yet that runs parallel to the park boundary, and that's where we is. And it was VM's Eagle Eyes who spotted the cheetah tracks. Cheetah, I'm checking every termite mound, every pile of elephant dung. They lie so flat and with their heads up. And they quite often take on the shape of a pile of elephant dung. The last place we saw the tracks was about 300 meters that way. I'm going to go check this road here. It doesn't look like anyone's driven it yet, so fingers crossed. As I said, unfortunately those tracks do look a little bit old, so we are floating on luck at the moment, and hopefully it holds, because they might have caught something in here. It's highly possible, but more than likely they've managed to sneak through into the property to the south of us. But even if we don't, it's been all beautiful down here on Cheetah Plains with those magnificent bull elephants. Yeah, it's a nice big game bath to check. Now if we find tracks here, that means the cheetah could be lying on the edge of the open clearing. You might not have seen them. I'm trying to see. I saw something that looks like the whisper of a cheetah track. I just want to double check quickly. Unfortunately, not a cheetah, but I do have a broad banded grass yellow fluttering around. Oh, there he goes. Beautiful little butterfly, but not quite what we're looking for just yet. Oops, sorry. There you go. VM's got the broad banded grass yellow, is looking for a spot to spend the evening. And even though they look so conspicuous when they fly about during the day, you can see when they land, they do look quite like a leaf. So that's how one of their defensive systems. Now, just to throw another spanner in the works, let's look at this track a little bit more carefully. Ah, it nearly caught me. It's a monkey. Just on the edge of the hard ground there. Cardinal's wondering, would a tracker like Hubert understand the different alarm calls of birds? Yes, Hubert's got a huge amount of experience, so he would be able to decipher some of those for sure. That's such a welcome addition to our team. Unfortunately, my gut instinct, which is normally quite good, is telling me those cheetah carried straight down the Kruger boundary. We couldn't see their tracks because a herd of elephants passed over. But we will double check. So unfortunately, I think we've passed where we had the cheetah tracks. They haven't come out. They have gone south, so, which means they have to come north one of these days. So going to have to keep checking down here. And of course it is. Sorry. As I say that, I see something that makes me think, oh, let's go back. Bless you, Veer.
Thank you.
That looks like a cheetah track, but it's difficult to say. It's been walked over by a buffalo. Let's go a little bit further down the road. It's been driven over. It's an older track, unfortunately. So, it is a Sunday, which means a wonderful day. It's fireside chat day. Bless you, VM. Sorry, I was very concentrated on looking at those tracks there, which means we are quite far. So, we're going to leave the area of the cheetah. We're going to take one last, or the last cheetah tracks. We're going to take one last gander around the Cheetah Plains Pan, where we had those wonderful elephant, and then move through the area where we last had in Kanini's tracks and start heading back west, so I can join you around a fire shortly. So we're talking about the different cat species we get here in the Sabi Sands and in southern Africa in general. And Jaden's wondering, have we ever seen a sand cat here? Jaden, we have not. Sand cats are very, 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 very specifically in the North African deserts. So they don't occur here, unfortunately. I have never seen one ever. I haven't been lucky enough to go scurry around in the North African deserts yet. So, Cheetah Plains Pan is across that open area there. I'm trying to see if I can see anything from here. Nothing big. I can see just a single wildebeest there. Just fix my chair there. There we go, that's much better. One last gander, what say you? I think it's a good idea. What do you think, Vim?
Yes.
Yes. Such a gorgeous, gorgeous evening. Sun. So we are heading straight west towards the setting sun. Okay, fingers crossed as we come across to the last of the open areas. One we've been to, but has been quite productive for us today with those ellies and bullies. Bye bye, wildly beasts. Don't get eaten. Oh, there we go. That's Gnormland's nemesis, keeping the ladies in check. Oh, walking straight into the sun. Well, Astralina has come up with a great idea. She thinks Gnormland's rival, who's disappearing there, should be called I'm a Gnu too. What do you think, Vim? Is that a good name for Gnormland's arch nemesis?
Yeah, I like it.
Vim likes it?
Oh.
Sold. Astralina, we have Gnormless Gnorman the Gnu, and I'm a Gnu too. So I need to do some low flying. We'll be back if we spot anything on our ride back towards quarantine. But in the meantime, let's jump back on board with Jamie for a bit.
Brent, as the mad sprint back from Cheetah Plains, we're headed with the fireside chat setup. And obviously once Brent makes it back into signal area, then you'll be with him for a little while until we have everything set up and ready to go for fireside chat for the last half an hour or so of the sunset safari. Many of you may be wondering what happened when I went for a walk. Actually, I sort of forgot to update you on that particular event. Oh, we've got panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. And I'll just let you know in a moment. Little baby kudu, I think, set off that sudden run and leap from all of the impala. Let's just stop for a moment. We'll have a look at them and I'll tell you what happened while I was on my walk. The answer was not very much. I went into some very, very thick vegetation and I got to the point where I could not see a single thing in front of me. Still, the birds were all calling, the grey hornbills, the go-away birds. Oh, there's a magnificent kudu bull. Anyway, as I wandered into the drainage line, I suddenly remembered that we're missing an Nkuhuma lioness that hasn't had her cubs yet. And at that point, I started to listen to my heart in my throat. So when a francolin exploded out at my feet, my heart rate sort of doubled. Look at that. Sorry, distraction from that story. We've got some serious courting going on here. And that female, the fact that she's letting that male do that tells us that she is very, very nearly coming into estrus. That chin resting on her back is a very clear precursor to mating. You've got a really nice comparison here between the male kudu on the left and the female on the right. Get an idea of just how much thicker his neck is and actually how much darker they are in color, because you don't often get to see them side by side in this way. He's managed to find himself a lovely lady. He'll spend quite possibly the next 2 or 3 days in this process, following her about and waiting for her to be fully in estrus before she will actually allow him to mate with her. And in that way, she allows the opportunity for a bigger, better and stronger male who might be a better genetic choice for her offspring to come along and to chase this other male away. Impala, meantime, have got something similar on their mind, but for these young males, they've got another few years yet before that opportunity presents itself. Practicing their fighting skills. And then a whole load of impala and kudu as well joining us here. Really quite a lovely sighting. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure if you must, those of you who have been watching the Djuma Dam camera at the same time, must have noticed the fact that there are some young buffalo there that are not Duggar boys and are clearly not associated with a breeding herd. So somewhere, chances are the lions have been causing chaos. It's usually the only time that you see sub-adults like the ones at the back there out of the presence of a large breeding herd. It might be my imagination, but they do look a little bit dazed and confused. But that could have been days ago, potentially, that the lions chased them and separated them from the rest of the breeding herd. But I was telling you about my drainage line. Anyway, I checked really thoroughly and I absolutely couldn't find anything, and I couldn't find any tracks. And I think I've come to the conclusion, after that Franklin that was clearly quite comfortably pottering about very close to my feet, apart from giving me a fright, let's put it that way, to put it mildly, I actually think it might have been a snake that the birds were all alarm calling at. There were no birds of prey, there were no big cats in there. The only other option really was a snake or maybe a slender mongoose. There's also the other option. All right, we need to start heading towards quarantine, which we shall do. Not yet, but nearly. Oh, that looks like a recipe for a twisted ankle. I mean, we know because we've walked through there before just how full of holes and pitted that dried mud is. Jandre knows, definitely, because I've definitely seen him fall in there. Not completely, but he did disappear up to about his hip in mud. Sorry, just chuckling at the memory of that. He still held the camera perfectly still, mind you, whilst on bushwalk, which was quite thoroughly impressive. Oh, we're going to get a Fleming grimace. Are we going to get a Fleming grimace? Ah, disappointing. I thought that the kudu male was going to pull that typical face of a male that is scent testing. Obviously, he already knows that she's nearly ready. Oh, he looks so hopeful. She's just not quite there yet. He's looking for the go-ahead from her, and he is most definitely not receiving it. Nice quick comparison between the female Nyala at the back there and the kudu. I know it's difficult for you to get a sense of scale, but these are the two antelope species that are probably the most commonly confused. Escape! Escape! Enough of this! She's faked a phone call and off she goes. No, he's still there. Well, you've got to hand it to him. He is persistent. I could just imagine what she said there. Oh, look at that bush. It looks delicious. I've got to go over there. Oh, there's the Fleming grimace. He's going, something smells delicious, like a more receptive female. Since you've given me the cold shoulder, I'll see what else I can find. He's worked out that she gave him the wrong number, and he's on to the next opportunity. We must. There's the Inyala at the back, the male's on the left and the female on the right. Female much lighter and more tan in colour. They're much smaller than kudu are. They've also got white spots as well as stripes. All right, we do have to get moving on, I think. We have fireside chats to prepare to. You can ride on the back with me until Brent is back in better signal area, at which point he can take over. Plus, I kind of want to see what this kudu bull's up to now. He's gone off in search of greener pastures. I'm not going to stop for too long just because we do have to get things going. Oh. I would love to stay and just watch these kudu as they walk towards us in the afternoon light. He's a lovely little baby. He's just barely bigger than the impala. Hello, little one. It's okay. Really lovely to see. We don't often get to see kudu this out in the open and really get to examine them. Jump, jump, jump. Look, vroom. All gathering together, sorry, and calling to each other. Oh, one last morsel quickly before bed. That would be me. Everybody else has left and I'm still trying to find food. Yes, everybody else has completely left this poor little mongoose. The rest of them are all scurrying for cover. Don't worry. I understand, little guy. I understand. Time for us to head up to quarantine. I know that I keep saying that. What? Run, run, run! You've been left behind. It's bedtime. It's bedtime. It's getting dark and scary. Whoopsie. Scared the kudu. That was not us that scared the kudu, by the way. It was the dwarf mongoose. Obviously ran over its foot. Sorry, impala. Can I come through? Thank you. Really good question for the final moments of my portion of the sunset safari before fireside chat. Joan, absolutely. You are right. The reserve doesn't interfere in nature, in theory. So then you wanted to know, well, if that is the case, why then have the hippo been removed from this area? To explain that, I have to go back to the point at which dams were actually constructed here. Those are man-made dams. They are unnatural dams, and whilst they bring us such an incredibly wide variety of wildlife, what it means is that in the northern Sabi sands 100 years ago, there probably would not have been hippo here. And the same applies to certain parts of Kruger and various other parts throughout South Africa. They've slowly migrated here because there have been large bodies of water in which to come and settle. But because they are man-constructed, it means that this area, when hit by a drought, is hit particularly badly because there are animals like hippo that would not naturally occur here. And this is going to, bear in mind, be the worst drought in the last 100 or so years, or so they say. So there's been interference for a lot of reasons. One of that is because actions of humans have brought the hippos here, and so it's up to us to help them out when drought strikes. It's also because they're going to pose a huge hazard once the drought does strike properly to man and animal alike in terms of the way in which things play out over the next few weeks. So that is why that level of interference has happened. All right, we're slowly making our way towards our fireside chat setup. Now, I don't want to give too much away behind the scenes, so you're not allowed to see any of it. I'm actually going to reverse. Of course, there's the fact that poor Connor is terribly camera shy. Wouldn't want to surprise him by being on camera. And since Brent hasn't quite reached the point that there is signal, Dave and Eugene are racing up behind me. I was going to stop for the dwarf mongoose, but I fear I'm going to cause a blockage. Oh, off we shall go, and we shall go on a loop around quarantine. What shall we chat about? Connor's just waved us past with the most perplexed look upon his face as he tries to work out where we're going. As they await all of the necessary stuff. Aha! A bird. Oh, it's beautiful in this evening light. This is a magpie shrike, also known as a long-tailed shrike, and definitely one of my favorite birds out here. Probably my favorite shrike species. Maybe, maybe not. Not including the bush shrikes. I really hope Herbert makes it here as well. He's also been walking. So far, no sign of Karula. We know she's here. She's somewhere around here. It's just a matter of something that we can follow up upon for the sunrise safari tomorrow. Okie dokie. Well, I'm going to go and help everybody out at Fireside Chat, and while I do, let's head back over to Brent for the last few moments of the sunset safari.
Welcome back. I've just heard some good news on the radio. Some lions calling around here. And Jamie's on her way to set up Fireside Chat, so let's try put a cat in the bag before the end of the sunset safari. Brian. Brian, confirm you stopped on that open area on Deadwood. You say due west towards the sunset for me? Okay, we're going to listen quickly. A lion? Seems like it's an elephant bull evening. Hello, mister. Young bull. Late 20s. And so quiet as he walks across the short grass. Watch his trunk. He's also trailing possibly a breeding herd, possibly another bull. Well, it's always time to stop for a snack if you're a big elephant bull. All the time in the world. And we're just going to sneak past him. Sneak past this elephant. Bye-bye, big boy. Hope you find what you're looking for. So many awesome elephant bulls this evening. We are going to just do a quick scan through the block and see if we can find those lions on our way to Fireside Chat. Temperatures dropped quite a bit. Quite looking forward to sitting around the fire. Also, it's going to be lovely. I think we're going to have a lovely setting tonight. The sun sets behind us, and you get that beautiful sky behind us. And remember, the themes or the things we're going to be focusing on Fireside Chat for your questions this evening are the African wildcat, just the general leopard cub update, because we saw in Canyon, so we'll have and what's happening with the hyenas on Djuma at the moment. So remember, if you're new, where to send your questions to for the Fireside Chat, or if you want to ask me a question right now, pop us an email on questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So it'll be very interesting if we manage to find the honeymoon couple, young Inkahuma lioness. So I'm pretty certain this will be her first mating, and that Birmingham, either right now or more than likely on tomorrow's sunrise safari, and to see if that mating has escalated. They were mating very infrequently, which leads me to believe it was probably quite new, and the chances are as they go further and further, there'll be more mating. This could, however, be a false estrus from the female because she is so young. And who knows, it could be to defend herself or protect herself from the males, just to garner some interest from them. But I think, if I remember correctly, she's probably just over 3 years old now, maybe a little bit younger, so she could possibly mate at this age. And won't it be wonderful when we've got lots of little lion cubs running around again? Speaking of little lion cubs, I heard the bestest best news today from one of the other rangers is that they found that the next Styx lioness has given birth another 4 cubs. So there are 8 Styx cubs now, which is really exciting news. And hopefully they decide to pay us a visit shortly. I'd love to catch up with some little bundles of lion joy. So we saw one of our firm favorites on this sunset safari, Nelson, the one-eyed, one-horned impala with one ambition, to avoid Queen Karula. Now, Catherine is wondering, would impala herds accept stragglers like Nelson, or is he destined to a life of loneliness? Well, Catherine, they most certainly would. At this time of the year, it's unlikely that he's going to be accepted into any herd that has females, but he would definitely be accepted into a bachelor group. And then once the rutting season and the mating is over, he would definitely be able to hang around with a big herd of impala. So he more than likely got that injury in last year's rut. So he probably lost his eye and his horn fighting for the rights to breed with females. And wouldn't it be amazing to know how many he sired before he got popped off the pedestal, or if he ever even made it to the pedestal in the first place? I think it's just going to have to be one of those mysteries the bush will hold from us. So we're going to maneuver now towards quarantine. There's a chance those lions were in this general area. I think they might be possibly a bit further to our north, but fingers crossed, you never know. Now, poor Hubert spent his whole afternoon trying to find the Queen of Djuma, and she is a tricky one, as we know, but the last tracks were around Vuyatela Lodge and Gallagher Lodge, so keep an eye on that Djuma dam cam this evening. Maybe she will grace you guys with a presence while the rest of us are in La La Land. And I did keep an eye out for a nearly impossible tree, but you guys are getting so good, it's making finding a nearly impossible tree harder and harder. but I will definitely be keeping a watch out over the coming week. There's got to be one or two more trees that will get that grey matter turning. So I'm not putting on my lights so I can see where I'm going. I'm putting on my lights in case there's a track of a lion or a leopard. Ooh, you see that silhouette there, Vim? I think that's a good one. Who's got their screenshot fingers ready? I might have to pick up my camera at the same time. Let's try get into the best possible spot for it. Oh, I think it might have been a bit further back. No, where do you think? A bit further more. It's going to be a difficult one, but I think it might be worth it. Or maybe, no, I think it's going to be forward. But this is going to be our last little. There. Oh, he's behind the stump. A little bit more, a little bit more. Actually, I think we're going to have to go for further forward. So have you got your screenshot fingers ready? Come on, come on. Is he going to clear the tree? We'll show you what it is. It's just not working for us this evening. It's a vulture. There, actually, no, there it is. That's the one. What do you think, Vam? A vulture silhouetted against the skyline. The babblers are laughing at our weak attempt at finding the perfect silhouette. But there he is. White-backed vulture. Settled in for the evening. And we're going to have to keep moving towards quarantine. We don't want to be late for fireside chat now, do we? Smells are so different in the dry season. And there's this dust, and also the smells of the animals seem to stay longer. I mean, I can smell a big herd of buffalo, and I know they passed through here 2 days ago. So that smell's still there, especially as it gets a bit colder. The smells tend to stay around for a bit longer. So hopefully we'll be following our nose along leopard scent marks in not too long. And it's been such an interesting week, and I can't wait for the next one to begin. And hopefully it'll be full of cats, because this last week we had the cats, but I would not say it was full of cats. We had to work quite hard. We're lucky enough to see Kanyun and her 2 cubs. We also got to see the Birmingham, well, 2 different Birmingham boys and 2 different Nkahuma lionesses. And I'm trying to think, I don't know if we saw any other cats, Vim, can you remember? Oh, African wildcat. Yeah, that's a cat. And Dave and I had what we think was Shadow. Oh, we know she was there, but we couldn't really see her in a tree. We might, after all, be a little late for fireside chat. As we just slowly move past the breeding herd of elephant. Unfortunately, to go. Hello, Ellies. Don't mind us. We're just on our way. Sit next to a fire. It's okay. It's okay. We're just going to move very slowly through them. Nice big herd. Ooh. They're on both sides, and the important thing with elephants is to just stay calm, move slowly, don't make any sudden noises. Yes, you're very scary, little one. A little baby trumpeting at us. And if we look a little bit further back, you see the adults are relaxed, flapping their ears, feeding away. So we're not actually disturbing them. It's the little ones showing us how big and tough they are. Oh, all the dust from the elephants. And it looks like we are through. Maybe we won't be late. So definitely, I know if anyone missed, keep an eye on the Djuma Dam cam this evening. Karula is in the hood. She's around there somewhere. We just weren't able to find her today. But hopefully she gets a bit thirsty and needs to come for a drink, and hopefully does that right in front of the Djuma Dam cam. So we're about 2 minutes away from the fireside chat. Vim, are we going to be late? Are we going to be in trouble? What do you think, Vim?
Find a lion or a leopard.
Yes,
Be in trouble.
that's it. I agree with Vim. If we find a lion or the leopard before we get to the fireside chat, we'll happily be in trouble. So we're coming up now towards Vuyatela. Who knows, maybe Queen Karula will make us late for fireside chat. Fingers crossed. Sorry, I thought I heard something there. I'm so worried about being late. I'm not even putting my jacket on. I'm bearing the cold to get there in time. I think we might just make it. We might not be in trouble this time. I've been in trouble a few times for being late for fireside chats. But sometimes the African bush has its own plans for you, and sometimes those involve lions and leopards. But it doesn't seem like it's happening just yet this Sunday night. So let's jump across to Jamie, who's probably a lot warmer than me, sitting next to the fire at Fireside Chat.